Hey, Baba, are you doing a podcast?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Well Thoughts, episode 6. I need to write this down because I always say the wrong episode, and then when I go back, it actually is the right episode. So we're going with episode 6, and today I have such an near and dear to my heart. Like I feel we've just discussed this. So this is Genn, and she is business owner of Wae West, and she's gonna dive into it in a bit. But I feel like I've known Genn for so long. It's actually ridiculous. We just were yapping about it that she possibly knows more about my life than
Yeah.
anybody at this point. And so, and the funny thing is, like, we probably only know each other from February. And
Yeah.
yeah, we were put in touch by a mutual friend where I always am so strong with like sit at tables with people that want to see you win. And so I mentioned that I wanted to, get into writing 2 books. One was starting business, and another one is going to be published anonymously, like which is based on true
Yeah.
events. And then I got put on Genn, who actually helped me write this amazing baby. And she did my cover. She gave me in and out advice on everything. And so, Genn, thank you so much for being on today's episode.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I thought you were a perfect guest because not only do we like resonate in the same mindset on things in life,
Yeah.
but also as a female business owner and entrepreneur, I thought that
Yeah.
you'd be a perfect guest. So, if you just want to chat a little bit about Wae West, your brand, and
Yeah.
also if you want to dive into your writing experience.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks. So I'm a designer by trade. I've been in the design field for 24 years now. And I've worked with some of, the leading international brands like Echo, New York, David and Goliath. Like I had a lot of fun, in the commercial sector. But Wae West was kind of born when I was in high school. My mom came up with the name and I trademarked it, and I've re-trademarked it every 10 years since it was created.
Love that.
And it's thanks. And it was started as a more just like a regular fashion brand, and then it became a lingerie brand when I was featured in a position that I was awarded by our fashion council here in KZN. In 2012, I did Joburg Fashion Week, and it was a little bit of a controversial brand because I used to do a lot of novelty clothing. One of my first lingerie projects that I did was for a local chain store, and we were the first to showcase naughty, like novelty nurses and French maids and that type of stuff in the
Yeah.
South African market. Like nobody was doing it commercially. It was always in a tacky quality in an adult kind of store. So we were the first to do it commercially through a company that I worked for. It was my concept, and then I went from there and just started doing lingerie. And I always wanted to be a costume designer, so doing the novelty stuff kind of worked hand in hand with that. And it was supposed to be under a brand called Hoodwink originally, and then they got upset with me because Hoodwink was the people that were hosting the fashion week got upset because of that. So they wanted it to be not so novel. They wanted it to be proper lingerie.
Yeah.
So I had to go in with a new brand officially and make Wae West a lingerie brand. And that's what it's pretty much stayed at. And yeah, I love doing it. We're busy relaunching it now after a bit of a sabbatical. We've got waywest.com.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
saw, I've seen some sneak peeks that you've been posting on Instagram, and I'm so excited about it. People don't understand. I don't know, like if people are still ashamed because you're just mentioning, in 2012 it was like seen as tacky. I
yeah,
absolutely love like sexy lingerie. And I don't
yeah,
buy it for like even when I was single, like I was not buying it for men. I was not buying it for my husband. Like I
Yeah.
love wearing it, and I feel like it should be more like promoted in a sense of it actually is so important in terms of what you choose to wear because,
Yeah.
for example, like it pushes up your bust or your butt and it just makes
Yeah.
you look so much better in certain outfits.
Well, there's that, and there's also just how you feel when you're in it. Like it's like a dirty little secret that you've got underneath your clothes.
Yeah.
And even if it's not that, I mean, for me, lingerie has strayed from what it used to be. It used to be something that you would slip into to like, I'm going to slip into something more comfortable, like when you get back after a date, it's not more comfortable necessarily, but you feel amazing in it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not necessarily something like if you think of like burlesque lingerie, it's so beautiful and intricate, and like that's what I want to I want to sorry I want Wae West to become,
Mm.
that standard where we are pushing those boundaries between underwear and lingerie, and a little bit of costume sort of theatrics coming through. I want the drama. I want it to have that kind of appeal where you kind of get to channel something that's the inner you that you don't feel brave enough to show the entire world. But when you're in a vulnerable position, with a partner, then you might feel more inclined to tap into that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what people do. So behind closed doors. So that's kind of what I want Wae West to be. And it is very much about promoting your femininity and tapping into that divine feminine energy, which I think a lot of women, unfortunately, that as much as they try, we all have to work these days. Most of us have more than one job, so it's you tapping into masculine energy all the time instead of feminine. So at the very least, when doing the dirty dance behind closed doors, you want to be in touch with that part of yourself. So yeah.
I love that you say that because I always say to people, like when I was younger, I felt like I could never be a feminine. And that was an issue I felt like in my past relationships, not based on me like as a person or as a woman. I just think that when you have to do so many things as a woman and you can't
Yeah.
be just the feminine,
Yeah.
this is where the importance of understanding like lingerie making you feel like a woman and making you feel powerful and in control when like the rest of your day 9 to 5 you have to be doing what is seen as like the man's job, but not only just
Exactly.
like at work, but you come home and as a woman, for example, like sometimes you're taking on the responsibilities like, is the bills paid, is the trash taken out, is the this, is the,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
you lose that ability of being a female. And so, yes, unfortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately, things like lingerie, cute shoes, makeup,
Yeah.
that's like our
Yeah.
win in life. And men, I would say, don't understand that as much. And so men have
Yeah.
this idea of, oh, she's wearing the lingerie for me. No, I'm sorry. I mean, it's a plus for you, but no.
Yeah, and there was an interesting fact when I used to supply Essential Boutique a good couple of years ago that 85% of all red lingerie was bought by men, and not actually by women. So, and obviously, like the best sellers in terms of color in lingerie was always black. So,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm not very much a black lingerie designer. I do have it, but
Yeah.
I love to have playful pieces.
Yeah.
Like some of my favorite brands are those loud kitsch brands like Irregular Choice, which
Mhm.
have like insane shoes, like Alice in Wonderland, in the
Yeah.
heel of the shoe. Like I just love stuff like that,
Yeah.
anything that taps into that playful side, which is your divine feminine. It's not so much the child within, it's more the playfulness that we
Mm.
don't allow ourselves enough time to have in our day to day.
Yeah.
Things are just too serious, and it
I
shouldn't be
know.
like
I was always so scared to wear leopard print as an adult. And I just recently, like from I think February, I wore like
yeah.
2 pieces. And I also saw you posted the other day,
Yeah.
was it yesterday or
Start
today?
smiling.
A leopard print. And I was like, I am in this era of life right now and I'm loving it because leopard print as well, like it's always seen as such like a tacky, slutty thing. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I wore the see-through leopard print dress and I felt the sexiest ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's how you style it as well, you know,
Yeah,
like everything is about styling and also like there's nothing wrong with like that tacky, slutty look as well at the
yeah.
same time. Like if that's the vibe you want to channel right now, then
Yeah.
go
And I
for it,
think
you
like
know?
society has evolved so much where so much more is accepted now compared to back in the day. Obviously, back in the
Yeah,
day, it was a little bit more of like an old school mannerism. Like you can't actually even show your bra strap because then it's, insinuating something and you can't wear your
yeah,
thong. And now that's the style. Like Y2K style is like a hipster jeans with your thong hanging out and it's like socially
yeah,
acceptable now. So I
yeah,
just think
yeah,
it depends on your personality. If you also have a fuck it personality, like I don't care what other people think, by all
yeah.
means, embrace it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's what you feel like on the inside. I mean, for me, and I don't say this with judgment, it's more um from a sense of, just highlighting something where I think, people do sometimes go astray is they'll dress for shock factor because of attention seeking behavior.
Mm,
And that has a lot to do with like a lack of self-love. And so I think the motivation behind what you do in anything in life, and also how you dress and how you portray yourself,
mm,
that motivation is so important because if we always ask ourselves that question, like are we doing this for ourselves, or are we doing it because we actually are lacking self-love?
yeah.
So whatever we do, so long as it's empowering and it's yeah, it's from like a good pure place for ourselves with the best intentions, and no one's getting hurt, then yeah, all for it.
I love that because that was such a big thing for me after becoming a mom at like 28. I
Yeah,
it was hard to figure out like what am I supposed to wear now because it was
yeah,
like sometimes I started wearing crop tops and I felt weird. I felt weird having a baby on my arm and I'm wearing a crop top and then it just got to a point where it's like but this is how I used to be. This is what I love.
yeah,
For me as
yeah,
well, like I love like experimenting with different fashion styles. And yes, now
yeah,
there are still places like I won't go and pick up my daughter at school in a crop top because then I still feel weird. But if I'm going
yeah,
out and I'm dressing up, I want to feel good for myself. And like I love when I'm going out and people compliment me on like how I've styled something. I think that that's like such a big compliment for me compared to somebody saying,
yeah,
"Oh, you look so pretty." Like, oh my word, I love those jeans. I love how you made it work. Like, I love that and makes me feel good.
yeah,
And so,
yeah,
yeah, I think that that's such a big thing again that society doesn't realize that we kind of put like women in a corner of,
yeah.
oh, she's dressing like that because she's seeking attention. No.
And my mom, I think it depends on your role models, but like my mom, when I was a teenager, in the 90s, she used to dress in mini skirts and mini dresses, like low cut mini dresses, and she had like an amazing body. She's nearly like 70 now, and she
Yeah.
still looks like a beautiful woman, but obviously she doesn't dress like that.
Yeah.
But I think she dressed like that until like she was about 45. And obviously now, like a 45-year-old dressing like that, we wouldn't even bat an eyelid because like this
It's
isn't the
normal.
Steve Martin
Yeah.
era, where Steve Martin's 38 and looks like he's 60. Like a 60-year-old man can look like a 38-year-old man now,
Yeah.
and worse with women as well. So I think my role model, my mom was always the mom because she was single when I was younger. After my dad passed on, we had such a different relationship with the other moms because she was threatening, to the other moms, but she didn't want anyone's like men,
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
just looked amazing. And all my girlfriends like loved the way my mom dressed. Like she
Yeah.
was the cool
She was the cool
mom.
mom.
Yeah, so I think she even passed on the mini skirts and mini dresses to one of my best friends as well, who became a model. So,
Oh,
it
I
was
love
just,
that.
yeah. So I think also like your role models, like my mom she was very like liberated she was a model. So she was very liberated in terms of the way she dressed and expressed herself. And I was lucky that I had that too,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 44 next month, and I will still wear a mini skirt and wear
As
crop
you should.
tops, and
As you should.
yeah,
Yeah, and
thanks.
you look good for 44, Jen. Like,
Thanks.
all right.
I think it's because I didn't have kids.
No, I would think you'd
Not that,
still, I would think you'd look better because I'm 30, going to be 32, and I feel like I should not. Sometimes I'm like, it's weird that I
yeah,
look like this and I've had a kid. But I have an episode on season 1 where we talk about like people calling you a MILF, and all my
yeah,
friends, and I have a lot of guy friends, will say
yeah,
like comments and be like, "You're the MILF, like, look at you. How are you a mom?" And I like
yeah.
it. Like I not that they're saying it in like a bad way or in a way of
No,
looking at me.
it's a
Like they're
compliment.
like hype men as well, like my
Yeah,
good
that's a
friends. But also
compliment.
like I think it's a compliment. I do think if
Yeah,
a stranger came up to me and said like,
yeah.
"Oh, you look like a mom," that's a bit weird.
He's
Like
hitting
just
on
go and
you.
discuss that with your friends in the corner of the bar. And when my own friends, girls or guys, say it, like
Yeah.
I'm doing something right.
So I mean, like I say it, but I say it in jest, and it's because my mom friends always tease me about that, like that is because I didn't have kids because their kids have sucked the life out of them, like that's what they say, you know. But that said, like
Yeah.
all my mom friends are gorgeous, so like they don't look like they've had the life sucked out of them, you know. But I think it's just like a feeling,
Yeah. Yeah.
and going back to what you were saying earlier about like when you have a kid and you know you're trying to figure out like who you are, you know, with this new change in your life, this big change in your life. It's been quite a big topic between myself and some of my friends at the moment. I've got a bride that's had a child, and she was your age when she had a child as well, and yeah, she's also like in that funk, you know, trying to figure out who she is.
Yeah.
And I've got a few friends that have gone through that. And I mean, obviously it's the hormones are raging, and you know,
Yeah.
you just got to be kind to yourself. You got to be like, it's okay if I don't know who I am right now. Like,
Yeah.
but tomorrow maybe I want to be Tati, and the next day I want to be a mom, and the next day I want to be this. Like, if you want to change who you are and your personality and your vibe every hour, just do it, you know,
Yeah.
like,
There's no right
yeah,
or wrong. And I always say to people when they ask me, like, how do you juggle doing everything and you travel and you're a mom and
yeah,
doesn't your life stop? And at the end of the day, I'm like, there's no right or wrong way, like in doing
no,
life and then like becoming a parent and doing life. For me, I just feel like my mental and emotional well-being is more important, and I can only be a good mom if I
yeah,
am emotionally and mentally and physically like in a good space. Like if I'm
yeah,
unhappy, like I am, I'm not being my best as a mom in terms of even just wanting to get out of bed. Like you can't have those days when you are a parent, even though
yeah,
sometimes like you need it. But when you do need it, that's where just asking for support and like taking the day and figuring out what you need and then coming back to it. But
mm,
I'm a strong advocate for like I really don't think your life has to stop. I think you just have to
yeah,
adjust how you've done things, and now you've adding this little one in. That being said,
yeah,
it is easier with one, and then like having two, three, four, it does
yeah.
constantly keep changing. But again, like I just feel like it's in everyday life. Like you're constantly changing who you are and learning something new about yourself. And this is just like a new spanner in the works, if I put it that way. So
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I again go back to like, you know, your role models in terms of growing up. And my mom was quite strict on me, but she always taught me that, you know, if you've got a parent who needs to carry on with their life and do whatever they've got to do, like you as the child need to just entertain yourself. You know, you can't, like it's important to have a good relationship with your child, 100%, but your whole life can't come to a grinding halt and change, you know, just because you have a child.
yeah.
And I think it's important because it just teaches that independence as well. And that's how I would like to think that I would be as a mom. I mean, my partner and I have spoken about it at length, you
Yeah.
know, obviously the stuff you're meant to do when you start dating, you know, it's healthy to
Yeah.
have those
Yeah.
discussions. So
And you
yeah,
learn with your first child, and you learn with your second child, and So it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no right
Yeah.
or wrong way. But I do definitely think like balancing and still having a life is very important, because I do know
Yeah.
people where I don't say their life has stopped, but in terms of like prioritizing themselves,
Yes.
yeah, they do
And
not. That's not
that's like,
healthy.
yeah, and that's like what you were saying, like you do have to show up, you can't just have that day in bed or whatever, but you do need to prioritize yourself, because you can't be as good a parent if you're not looked after,
Yeah.
if you're not taking care
Yeah.
of yourself. So, it's the moderation, it's the balance, as you said,
Yeah.
so well, I agree with that 100%. Can't
No.
wait to have a kid. It is something I want.
It's so exciting for you. And yeah, I know like you haven't had the easiest journey, but we always talk, I mean, between you and I, we always talk about things happen for a reason and on its own time. And sometimes we don't understand it and we question it, but we also have to just trust divine timing.
Exactly. I can't. Oh, there's actually there is an example of that. I mean, there was a particular model that I wanted to use for my fashion week, and I found out. I mean, that was in 2012, and we're now in 2025, right? So
Yeah.
13 years later, I found out that that model got arrested, like for some serious charges. So yeah,
Oh my word.
so, like, and I was bummed that I couldn't use them, because they were like the main kind of person, like people
Yeah.
would know who the person was. And yeah, they got arrested on some serious charges quite recently. So like my brand would have been aligned
With
with that
that.
person.
Wow.
So, just like you might not even know, in the next week or the month or the year, like
Yeah.
13 years later, I know why I didn't get that model. So,
I always say, like, I don't question when things happen. Like, one day the answer
yeah.
will just like pop up and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hear you, universe. I hear you.
Thank you.
That
I'm
is
sorry I was
that
such a
is
fool about it.
crazy. I have an icebreaker question, since we're both business owners, and
Yeah.
based on Wae West, if
Hmm.
you could choose one celebrity to be your co-founder, who
Oh,
would it be that best represents your brand?
wow. Sure, you're putting me on the spot now. I need to think about that. Um, and
That's how I
like,
feel. So that's how I feel when you are like, can you give a song for this part of your book? And I'm like, I have this whole playlist. And then in that moment, I'm like, no, I don't know.
yeah.
I'll get back to you.
And I know. So look, I mean, if I had to, out of current celebrities, I'd say Sabrina Carpenter is probably the closest to my brand.
Love that.
Yeah.
Actually, I can see her because her personality like is portrayed as like she's she's so like a woman in her own body. She doesn't care
Yeah.
about what anybody else thinks, and like she can make
Yeah.
anything work as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, she's big on the whole burlesque scene. I mean, out of older celebrities, I would obviously look at more on the burlesque scene. It would be like a Dita Von Teese kind of celebrity. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, she's quite an incredible force as well when you look at everything she's done.
Yeah.
And I've seen, tours of her home and things like that, and like a lot of stuff aligns. So
Yeah.
um, there's that element of like a little bit of dark and a little bit of sweet, that contrast in terms of the polarities of personality types, which I think we all have that, in terms of our shadow self and,
Yeah. When
parts
I
that
was
we,
younger, I always wanted to own a lounge, but like burlesque theme. And then when
oh,
Christina
amazing.
Aguilera came out with the movie Burlesque, I was like, why can't I just have this? Like every day,
Yeah.
watch like this amazing woman just dance on stage looking sexy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, everything's so tactile. That's what's so great about like burlesque. It's I don't know, like all your fabrics, all your trims, like there's always something to use as a prop as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm big on that, like how life needs to be like one big dance scene or dance sequence, like a flash
Like a
mob,
flash
or
mob.
yeah, like I love that. Like whenever I see skits on that or adverts or anything
Yeah.
that uses that model, like, or in a movie when suddenly like someone's thinking about something, like Ally McBeal is like my go-to
Yeah.
for that. You know, it's like old school, but that was like my go-to. It just made sense. And I've kind of used a lot of that in terms of life. Like you have anthems that help you along the way, right?
This is why music, I say, is my love language, because I
Yeah,
literally like place a song with everything. Like even when I'm going out to getting like dressed, I have like a theme song that makes me feel
yeah.
good, put me in a good mood. Like I think music is such a pure like artistic way for people to just resonate with certain things.
Exactly. I've recently gone back to my roots of the 90s music, and sure, it's bringing back memories. 90s and early 2000s, and like,
That is
oh,
all my playlist
yeah,
consist of. And it's so hard because then I listen to like the radio and I'm like, I can't get on this new music. I'm just like, what are you talking about? What are you singing about? And like even
even
when
old
I
school rap. I mean, old school rap was like amazing. I don't really listen to rap now, but
yeah,
like
but
the
it all
old school
meant
stuff.
something back in the day as well. I feel like now
Yeah,
it's just like, I mean, back in the day as well, it was all feuds and like, trying to go at each other. But now it's like there's no essence to it as well. Like,
no. And I feel like it's super crude still, you know, like that it's always packaged in that same package,
yeah.
and like it
Like
needs to kind of like move
give me
on.
the like Usher music videos where he's like confessing his love and she's there. Not like if I'm listening to a love song and there's like 30 women shaking their ass in the background. Like,
Yeah.
what is he in love with? Why is he singing a love song with like backup dancers shaking their ass? Like, no, I need to feel like I'm there in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That is so funny.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been because when I write you know, on my projects and stuff, I'll have different playlist lists depending on what type of writing I'm doing or what the chapter is going to entail. So
Yeah.
it's been quite handy, and yeah, the latest bit of work, it's kind of needed that sort of angry, frustrated feel, you know, to the backdrop of my writing. Like
Yeah.
it's Alanis Morissette and, you know, like all that older stuff, like just working so well with it in the background. Like I just get channeling the right attitude of
Yeah.
that frustration for the work. So yeah.
Well, we'll tell the listeners. So Jen is a writer. Would you say you're a writer, or how would you?
Oh, I'm not published. Like I haven't personally been published under my own name. I've been a ghostwriter for the urban writers. So last year I wrote 9 books for different authors, but like I was technically the author.
Yeah,
So because I haven't been self-published, I would classify myself as a writer. And right now I'm more of a ghostwriter than anything
ghostwriter.
else. So I've done a lot of blog work over the years. I was published for Rebel Society. I did a lot of non-fiction kind of work about like self-love and shadow self and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I like to go deep and dark when I write my own stuff and be quite brutally honest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, this is my next question will come from this. So Jen's a ghostwriter, and she's been my ghostwriter. For those of you who know me, English was not my strongest subject at school. My mind is very creative, and I
Yeah.
just felt like I've been saying it on my podcast. Like last year was quite a emotional roller coaster, and I felt like the best way to channel my energy was like focusing on, the podcast and relaunching my business and then channeling it into a book. And so this is why I say Jen knows the ins and outs of me in such a short period, because I had to share everything with her. And when I say
Yeah.
everything, I mean everything.
Yeah, it's been like an interviewing process, like
Yes, yes,
as we work on the project, you know,
yeah.
like, and you think you've got it all, and then I'm like, oh wait, Jamie, I need to ask you this. Like
And
I'm
it's
sorted.
fun.
Don't worry, I'm
It's
sorted. No, wait, I need to ask you another million questions.
it's been such a fun journey because one, it's a vulnerable journey. And
Yeah,
I was scared. I think you maybe can talk about like the shift that you've seen from when we first started to how open I am now about things.
yeah,
But
yeah.
in the
We're both
beginning, I
besties
was
now.
very vulnerable with what I was sharing, especially because the person who introduced us was my brother. And so
Yeah,
he won't know about the book. Um, but yeah, it's been like from meeting Jen to now, it's like giving her little bits and pieces of what I wanted to write. But obviously,
yeah,
we got into depth and like the trust and relationship bond just automatically came. And
yeah,
I had to bleed, my heart was bleeding to her
yeah,
that
yeah.
way. And so based on like just me and like what I can imagine like goes through your head, how is that journey been like writing for people that is literally having you need to be in their foot for in their shoes for those
In their
moments?
shoes. I've, you know what? I've always been. It hasn't been hard. It's something I think that I have a skill at. Um, because from very young, I was always that go-to person. Like from teenage years, even like slightly younger, I was that go-to person that I was exposed to a lot at a young age, and the emotional maturity I've always had has been a lot more advanced than someone of my age. Like I would be at house parties talking to the parents in the kitchen whilst my teenage friends are getting drunk and making out in the bushes.
Yeah.
So it was never it's never been hard for me to relate, and I feel a lot for people. Like if I see someone on the street, I feel like digging in the bin, with the poverty that we have here in South Africa, and it's quite rough in KZN especially, and in particular areas. And I feel like I can see what that person's spirit is going through. Like my empathic
I was about
ability.
to say, like, you definitely tap into like
Yeah,
having
yeah,
traits of an empath because that's,
yeah.
you see yourself like you're in that moment.
Yeah, and I think being able to relate to people, which is why when I've been in situations where, someone's cheated on me in a relationship or whatever, yes, like I can talk about that, but at the same time, I'm not going to hold on to any baggage about it, because I can also look at things from their point of view, like what they might have been going through. And it's not always so easy for people to understand um that level of compassion, or I don't know, like being able to dismiss things,
Yeah.
plights that people are going through, being able to relate to that. Like not everyone can do that. People are quite judgmental, I think, and I don't know if it's out of fear, um, that they're so worried that if they feel something, they're going to feel guilty that they're not doing something about it, or
Yeah.
that they being disrespected. So it like boils down to ego. But for me, it's I don't know. It's just been very easy, and I feel like quite honored, actually. It's more like being given the key to someone's secret room or secret club, and that nobody else is allowed in that club. So you have to respect those rules. You have to respect that person's space and that person's vulnerability. So and I've just always been that person for people. So but that said, each time that I'm put in that position, I still feel that same sense of like honor and pride that I have been chosen to be that person. Whether it's someone telling me their secret, or whether I'm writing, for someone like you, for example, it still feels like, wow, I've been entrusted with this, and I need to feel like privileged, for having someone trust me, especially someone who doesn't know you,
Yeah.
like you don't know me from a bar of soap. I
Yeah.
just have a
Because
space
for the
that
other person, like
possibly.
you. Because for the other person, it's like difficult. Like, like for me, when I didn't know you, it was like, will this person be able to actually tell the story from my point of view? And like, especially because mine is based on me and my emotions, like, will they be able to mirror that? And like, I think that's very important when like people look for somebody to create in terms of any
Yeah.
creativity field, like where it's music, a book, or even like fashion.
Yeah.
You want somebody to deliver exactly what you're trying to bring to life. And so I always say to you that like I don't believe in coincidences, and it was just
Yeah.
so crazy how I felt like you we were just on the same wavelength. And I think like emotionally and mentally, like we think the same, we feel the same. And it's not
Yeah.
easy being an empath. Like
No.
it's shit because again, like people don't understand why people can care and love so much. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's mistaken for like you're too clingy or you don't know when to step back. And at the end of the day, it's actually because we kind of done our inner work to know that they are still battling certain things.
Yeah.
And so, it's the love that we show is like we don't want to walk away just because somebody has toxic traits. It's like we are that
Yeah.
people who will be, like what do you call the piñata? It's like keep hitting at me. I'm still here. I'm not gonna break. But then
I'll take the
unfortunately it
beating.
gets to a point where we have to say like enough is
Yeah.
enough. Like you have to go on your own path now because you
Yeah.
just our timelines are not matching up. Like we're just not vibrating at the same frequency right now.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of Buddhism, I believe it's a great disservice actually, if you don't allow people to go on that path, because you're depriving them of learning that lesson on their own. I mean, it's almost like enablement.
Mm,
And obviously by all means be there and support people, and do your best. But if people aren't willing to help themselves, I think the lesson that you and I have both learned, and you've learned it younger than I have. I mean, it took me a long time to learn it, because I was such a people pleaser for so long. But I think like the lesson you've learned to identify is like, okay, but if you're not willing to help yourself,
mm,
then it's just toxic for me. Like,
yeah.
why should I be willing to help you? Because now I'm just enabling you. So yeah, I think you've learned that lesson, at a great age. And your message that you've got to bring to the world, I think, is going to help a lot of people, in that situation. And I think you need to look at it more from that point of view, that it's your way of healing others and providing healing, and catharsis for
Yeah.
others, through that journey of reading the book. So
I love that you
yeah.
said that because yesterday, I mean, you and I talk about manifesting quite a lot. And just yesterday, I just like, while I was in the mirror and I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking like the whole purpose of the book is not only to heal myself, but it's because I want to heal other people. I want to have
Yeah.
like there's people that don't have a you that they can turn to and say like, hey, this is how I feel, this is how I express it. These people sitting
Yeah.
with this pain and this I won't even like trauma. These people
Yeah.
sitting with this in their mind and in their heart, and it's like eating at them every day. And so yes, my sole purpose of the book is just to have it as like an outlet for me and like a way to push it into creativity. And they always say like
Yeah.
when you hit like spiritual awakenings, creativity
Yeah.
is a way of like expressing yourself and moving to a higher vibration. But also
Yes.
because like I wanted to be effective to other people. And so that's like when you have that as a purpose, and like I think that's where more gratitude comes from as well, not just like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna write it with possibly becoming rich and famous. It's like, no, I want to write it because I wanted to help somebody else. And so yeah.
And again, that goes back to like the motivation of why are you doing things. Like initially it was supposed to be a personal project. I mean, you weren't even sure if you were going to publish it,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And I think it's really just boiling down to like having the confidence in the journey, that it doesn't really matter what the outcome is. What matters is that it's done and it's out there. And I think you were called to do it. I don't think you necessarily
Yeah.
realize like the
Because it's
magnitude of
funny, I
what it
actually
is.
just told you the other day that this is actually something I started 5 years ago, and then I thought
Yeah.
like that story it just didn't mean that much to me. And
You
so I
weren't
just
there
like
yet.
rebirthed
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And who knows what like else spiritually and energetically this is gonna like open you up to, you know, in terms of like your own gifts and your own journey, and what you have to offer this world, because we're in such a wonderful time of like grand awakening. Like you can see the whole world is shifting like at a rapid rate. And it's really beautiful to see it in action, and not to allow ourselves to get caught up in, you know, the riffraff of it and the drama and all of that, like
yeah,
just standing back as a bystander and watching it all kind of unfold, whilst we focus on our own journey and our own healing and our own light, and what we have to offer to the world. Because if you are in that frequency where you can, you know, energetically tune into that alignment where you're at a higher frequency, you only need about 100,000 people to elevate to
yeah,
ascend and elevate the frequency of the planet. So
yeah,
that's what they say. I don't know how they know that, but apparently. So I read a lot.
yeah, yeah.
So before anyone's like, where do you know that? I want facts and sources. Like that's just what I've heard from various sources. So yeah, it's really interesting.
But I
And I
always
think,
say on my shows, like take what resonates and what doesn't. Like don't let
yeah.
us feed your delulu. Like you do you, and this is just our opinion and what we live by.
We come in peace.
Yeah. We should be like Katy Perry, get a flower and start sniffing it after being to the moon.
Yeah, floating.
I can, I can.
No,
Do you think that they went to not to the moon, they went to space, right? 11 minutes to space.
no. I go down like deep rabbit holes and all that stuff. I
We
was
we
watching
definitely
the,
will save that for an
yeah.
episode two of us. I'd love to talk about little conspiracies that we believe in. I know that everybody, you know what? At this point in life, I always say, when is a conspiracy no longer a conspiracy? Because aliens was a conspiracy. They've been proven to be among us. And
Wait, I have to just add, they created Space Force right after the Second World War. So, like, America had like their own Space
yeah,
Force to monitor
and now it's
extraterrestrial
known.
activity.
During
So,
COVID, they
if
like
they don't have, yeah, the
openly
things
made it
exist.
public. Like it's always
Yeah,
in there. There's
yeah,
literally military force, UFOs, and things like that. So
yeah. They've actually got in the flag that they created that Trump unveiled in his
yeah,
last term. They've got a UFO there. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
I
yeah.
love diving into conspiracies, but again, like it's conversations you have to have with people that are open-minded, because I do not like people that just come with negative energy and try to steal my energy when I'm expressing how I feel on things. And some people just get into like deep arguments,
Yeah.
and it's like, I'm not here to convert you. Like,
No, it's food for thought. It's just like be open and like see where the rabbit hole takes you. I mean, I have a friend that I have many friends actually that don't always believe in the stuff I say, and then I give them some like
food for
more
thought.
factual data, and then I go down that rabbit hole and they go, holy crap, like you were
Yeah.
right. So, like, you know, it does, I don't need to be right.
Yeah.
It's just be open. And I find the discussion, and always have, like since I was a kid, I find the discussion just really interesting, because I would like to believe in the fantastical and the weird. And I mean, one of my favorite movies is Labyrinth, and it's about like goblins and fairies and, you
Yeah.
know, so yeah, it's just about having fun, you know?
Yes. And just like absorbing knowledge, like don't be succumb to just what you learned in school. Because again, like what do you learn in school? They don't teach
Yeah,
you what's happening in the real world. And so just,
yeah.
open your mind, just read about it. And if you don't like it after you read it, close the book and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if like people didn't like anything, like if you go into a bookstore and they reacted the same way about anything they read in a bookstore, you know, or anything they just saw online. I mean, I know like people are a bit unhinged online these days, but it's if you don't have anything nice to say, like that rule still applies. Like just keep on
It
moving.
does.
Like you don't really
But
have to carry
like
on.
for for us in the creative world, that's okay. Like negative feedback helps us go viral. So if you just want to
Yeah, oh
leave
true,
negative
yeah.
feedback, that's okay. I
Yeah.
just saw the other day a lady was saying that she had started posting about her husband's Honda Civic and how they
Yeah.
couldn't pay off the car loan. And so just one day she just like started expressing herself on Instagram. And there was people, I would say like 90% of her followers are people that like started trashing her and
What?
commenting on her videos. And she made it now a year later. She made how she became like almost a millionaire because of her haters. Like literally Instagram pays her for people's negative comments, like, and making her videos go viral. So
Wow.
you just,
Wow.
you know
Well, you
what,
see.
guys? If my book comes out and you don't like it, leave those negative comments. It's fine.
Yeah, you just have to look at like the whole Blake Lively scandal. I mean, that's
Yes.
like, I think
Yeah.
more people watch that movie than what we're actually going to.
Wanting to watch it,
Because,
right? Like trying to
yeah,
find a pinpoint, like, ooh, did you see that? Did you see that?
exactly, right? So,
Yeah. I will say I watched it sooner than I would have.
yeah,
Because, and I say that because I bought it on Prime, like as you can rent it instead of just waiting
yeah,
for it to come out on Netflix for free because I was like, ooh, I want to see what's going on here.
right? So, yeah, I mean, like maybe there's a conspiracy around that too.
Yeah. I think, well, for me, I really, when I was younger, the first thing I studied was like marketing because I wanted to go into like public relations specifically. And so for
Yeah,
me, I don't believe anything in Hollywood. I think everything is
right.
PR stunts.
Yeah,
I do think like people obviously maybe just don't like each other, but I feel like when like if we look at Selena and Hailey Bieber, like that, I feel like it's just their management that has come together and was like, well, you both have beauty makeup, like beauty products that now your sales are going low, so let's get some hype around it. And your sales are going low, let's get hype around it. And I'm just like, can this poor people just live their life and like be happily
yeah.
married without it being like he's secretly in love with Selena and sending subliminal messages? And I'm like, he doesn't even write his own music at this point.
Yeah, yeah, you see, and that's, I mean, I've been around celebrities obviously because of my career and stuff and the kinds of people I have to dress, but I also have a celebrity that is a good friend of mine as well. And um when and she was a model, like a really well-known model in her youth, and she would show me magazine articles in like, the whatever they were called, like the tabloidy kind of ones, and they would take the dodge and the burn tool on Photoshop and they would burn cellulite onto her thighs. Like the one time she actually like she took her pants down, like
Yeah,
she showed
you
me her
show.
thighs. She was like, "There's the cellulite. I don't have cellulite,"
You see, you
and
just can't believe anything. And like people say too, like social media, you don't know what to believe on social media. You shouldn't
uh,
believe anything on social media. At the end of the day, yes, some people are telling the truth, some people are fabricating it, and it is what it is. At the end of the day, like guys, just
yeah,
live your own life. Unless you know these people personally, I mean, they make a living off of you subscribing and tuning in, and we all
exactly.
do it. But I just don't know how people feel the need to like put their energy into like fighting with random strangers about somebody who doesn't
Yeah,
even know they exist. That's not me.
yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
not gonna keep you any longer. I definitely we will have you back because I we have so
Um,
much more to talk about.
I can't believe it's already gone.
I know, I know. We could sit here and yap all day. But where can our listeners find you?
So I'm on Instagram. I'm at Wae West. It's WAE West. And my lingerie page is at Wae West World. And we also have waywest.com. So, and I'm on LinkedIn if you want to also speak to me
Stay
about those
tuned.
things.
Maybe I'll be in some way west one day and like,
Oh yeah, definitely. I was thinking about that. Like when we first started talking, I was like, we need to do a photo shoot or something with you and send you some gear. Like, yeah. Design something like especially for you though, like something that's got like a little bit of edge. I think we can have
Ooh,
some fun with
I like it. We might
that.
just blur my face and use it as the book cover.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna say goodbye to our listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Like Jen said, follow her on Instagram and check out her website, and we'll see you next week.